Hello. All right, there we go. For some reason, OBS decided to take my mic offline. Anyway, we're back. I noticed quite early on, luckily. But anyway, it's funny that actually happened, considering I wasn't even talking for like 10 or 15 seconds when I started the stream. That's largely because I just watched Ronnie Dyla's post-match press conference. That was telling. That spoke volumes. We'll get into it. We'll talk all about it. But man, very depressing loss tonight. I personally felt very disheartened from this loss. It didn't seem like it had to go this way. It seemed like it could have gone another way. It seemed like there was a possibility, maybe even a good one, that this could have been the game where the team turned it around. It could have been. I mean, like we said last episode, why not? Why not this game? Obviously, there's good reasons for that, and the chances are not on your side, but still, there's a chance, and I saw it. I saw a glimmer of it. Maybe for first 45, I saw belief in this team. They looked like they were out there and they felt like they belonged, and they were like, we can win this game. That's what it felt like watching them play. Some of them had significantly better individual performances than, last couple, maybe several, 3, 4, 5 games that they've had. And that was really encouraging. Obviously, we couldn't find the back of the net. Clinical issues up at the top as usual. So that's still, unfortunately, the same. But it also wasn't in a vacuum. That keeper stood on his head, that 19-year-old debutante. That was ridiculous. I knew, of course, when I saw the 19-year-old, he was going to play. I saw, like, they were talking about the stats of this guy before this game. Not a good goalkeeper in MLS. Not at all. Played the game of his life against us, as they always do. When you come to the Bens, every team plays better because it's the Bens. And we somehow don't. So, a lot of things about this match, like I said, but to help me talk about it, let's get AJ in here. AJ, you're back from the match at the stadium. Tell me about the vibe, first of all, in the stadium. What were the fans like? It didn't look like there were very many of them in the stadium tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it was not the most heavily attended match, but it did fill out a little bit later. It was probably high 30s, maybe low 40s in terms of the amount of fans. 40,000. But the energy, yeah, I mean, it was basically a lot of casual fans, or just people that didn't really know what was going on. The person right next to me included, which was my brother-in-law, and somehow I roped him into this, coming into this match, and he had a good time because he just wanted to see the stadium and all that. But I prefaced him that we were winless in 7, now winless in 8. And yeah, like this title says, this team is embarrassing. You bring somebody that, brother-in-law to this game. I mean, thankfully he's a sports fan and he's a Chargers fan, so he gets it. He knows the pain. But yeah, I mean, to ask anybody else, that's just sadistic. To ask them to watch this. Yeah, the first half, definitely a lot better than what we've seen out of this team for quite some time. We kept a clean sheet. We had some chances. couldn't put them away. But during the match, you asked about the vibes. The ATL Viking clap was some of the most depressing that I've ever seen. It took probably about 2 or 3 rounds of it to actually get going. Like that just speaks for itself. It was tough. Like the fans in there are just like, yeah, you know, if this is what you know, the higher ups are okay with, as far as the type of atmosphere, which I imagine they're not, but with Ronnie Dyla's press conference, which Michael was kind enough to kind of describe to me, yeah, you know, it seems like a lot of people are lost, players included, head coach included, and you know, it really is a question of what can you do. I don't think you fired the head coach. I don't think that really is the solution here, because he's too new on the job. This isn't really his problem. But it probably is, as far as a scapegoat, yeah, the easiest head to roll. But ultimately, yeah, it's a top-down issue. And it seems like the players, yeah, they ain't it. The energy levels, I mean, it's like, yes, somewhat there, but it's like we're allergic in the final third. Either we hit it right at the keeper, or we just barely miss. And then we give up a soft penalty on a counterattack that probably, yeah, we should have done better to begin with. And it's just this type of game exemplifies pretty much the entire season. I mean, the number of goals that we conceded in some of the other games far exceeded as far as worst games, for sure. Philly, Orlando. But at home, to drop another egg in front of your fans, you just can't do that. This was one of the games that we absolutely had to win. Every game is a must-win now.
Yeah.
Is it gonna happen? It ain't gonna happen.
Well, yeah. Guess who we're playing next?
Yeah, it's just the slide is just it's looking like it's just gonna get worse. I mean, rock bottom is not the bottom has not fallen out yet. Like it's bottomless. It's bottomless mimosas, and it's not the fun kind. It's just this hangover is just gonna be the worst we've ever seen, probably. And
Oh yeah.
like I lament it.
This is the doldrums. I never thought it would be like this after what seemed to be a really, really excellent offseason. Seemed like we had a lot of core parts that were really able to get this team going. I mean, you saw it almost congeal for the playoffs, going in against Miami and everything. You saw a belief. You saw a bit of a culture form. All gone. For whatever reason, some people might want to say, well, it's because Valentino left. I don't know whether or not that would have been something that buoyed us going forward. I can't say for sure, but it's possible, because clearly the culture up and left, whatever was constructed, the goodwill and all that we had going up against Miami, all completely gone. And now everyone, apparently, this is another one of those press conferences where Ronnie Dyla says we can't be, pointing fingers and yelling at each other. Clearly that is happening. He's saying the quiet part out loud. It's a little telling there. So
it's 2 months again without a win. back-to-back years. I mean, like, this cannot happen back-to-back years. Like, I think there's people that would be like, just clear the whole house.
Oh, yeah.
Just usher them all out. Impossible, obviously, because it's not like Garth Lagerwey is going to fire himself. He might resign, but is that really going to help matters? I mean, because it basically is this. We hired as far as Chris Henderson, Garth Lagerwey, the best of the best, apparently, as far as front office people. I mean, Chris Henderson, just on the job, can't really be at fault for this either. So it's just, this malaise is just going to continue because we really don't have, there's no scapegoats, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of what Connor Thompson in the chat is saying. He suggests, should we start selling players? Well, I think that is...
do that now.
No, we can't do it now, but, and to your point, AJ, the malaise will continue. But when we do get the chance to offload players, to move people around, we got to do it ASAP. We got to do that quickly and decisively. And like you said, luckily we do have kind of the best guys, the mercenaries, possible in the front office to do such a thing. So hopefully we can really rebound, but
big but, Nicki Minaj style type but. How are you going to get rid of players that are underperforming? You're basically trying to get rid of your trash.
Yeah.
Who's gonna do that? Who's gonna help us get rid of the trash?
I mean, I think, I don't know if this is true or even a good observation, but it could be that some teams can just monitor what has happened for when we shed our last quote-unquote trash players. They all performed well at where they ended up. Not like all of them, but most of them, quite a few of them, that it's become a meme in the community that, oh, so-and-so after they left Atlanta United is now on like a really good team doing well, and they're scoring and they're assisting and they're getting numbers, and when they were here, they were absolute trash and we couldn't get rid of them fast enough. Maybe they can go like, okay, it's the team they're on, it's the organization there. If we can get those players out on a discount, they'd play for us, they'd do well for us because they clearly are not capable of doing it there. I mean, like I said, speculation entirely, but that could be part of a calculus.
I mean, yeah, that'd be some reverse psychology type of marketing for our players, maybe. But, we'll see if that's something that they can do. But as far as, players, I guess, succeeding elsewhere, I mean, it's not necessarily always the case. I think there's probably some cherry picking by fans to, acknowledge the ones that are doing well. But yeah, it doesn't. That's not to say that all of them are, and many of them are in different types of leagues that suit them better. And so, it's a league that here is a lot more physical. It's less on technical ability, but it's also, it's like we're not exactly the most technical team either. Even though, tonight, lots and lots of possession. Nothing really to do with it. Mm-hmm. And, it's just another game where it's just, okay, great. Yeah, we had the ball. Fuck all with it.
Yeah.
So
very Pineda-esque in this game.
And it's just that. It's like, and once we get in the box, we panic, we snatch the shots. TRA, ELL, both can't put the ball away.
Yeah, I mean, the service in the box has been like okay to not very good. And the commentators kept harping on it. I think I was listening to Jason and Mike this time, but they were talking about how like every time our guys got a ball in a dangerous position, it's like has crazy spin on it. It's bouncing erratically, and they can't bring it down. They can't settle it. They can't be in a position. It takes them for like a couple touches just to get to a point where they can even take a shot. And at that point, of course, they're closed down. So then they do, I guess, what they can with it, which is a very, very low probability chance, because you got to shoot through like 8 guys at that point, right? Or you pass it off to someone else. But it's very frustrating, because that is true. Like, yeah, they're getting the balls. A lot of times this game, you saw Moranchuk, Pedro, even Almiron, which he had a rough game, but like they're putting balls in spots that are causing problems, but it's like our guys don't have the touch to deal with it. And not only do they not have the touch, but the balls that get to them, that get there, are difficult to deal with.
Yeah, and as well, I mean, Lennon going out early, I think actually didn't really affect the match too much. Saba actually looked better than what Lennon could do. I mean, I was calling for that. And, I think we actually looked somewhat dangerous from the right side a little bit. And but it ultimately still is. It's just the lack of quality in midfield that can actually get us into good scoring positions.
Yeah.
To actually get, like, basically zone 14, we just don't ever, like, breach it. Like, essentially, around that D, there's just nothing. Or we're closed down too fast, or we snatch at any of the chances, and it's just, like, we're always pumping in cross after cross from wide, versus actually creating something inside the box that is worth anything. I mean, the fact that it was like 60-40 in terms of possession, and there actually was like 1 point something.
Yeah, let's talk about the stats real quick so to bring everyone up to speed on that. For this game, the overall stats we had, and this is SofaScore, we had 65, they had 35%. Our XG was 1.04, theirs was 1.82. There's 10 shots from us to 15 for theirs. SofaScore decided to reload itself. Let's see, we had obviously a lot more passes, we had a lot more possession. Any more interesting ones? We had 10 free kicks.
Before we were chasing the game too.
Yeah.
It wasn't game state related. It was just that we were anemic in front of goal and
well, it's not only just anemic. I mean, like, I hesitate to say anemic, because that would imply that, like, we just didn't even test the keeper. We absolutely tested the keeper, and he came up fucking huge. There was 2 saves that were really impressive.
2.
Yeah.
The rest of them right at him.
Yeah, but I mean, those 2 saves, I mean, that obviously changes the game. Like, a draw or a win against Philadelphia, one of the top teams in the league, I mean, albeit it's at home, is still pretty good. So, like, could have changed the complexion a lot, but, again, kid came up big time.
Yep. I mean, again, like you mentioned at the top of the show, a keeper staying on his head, it's not anything new, especially a young kid. Yeah, it's almost like rife for Atl United in that storyline. Parkazan also did have, I think, a couple of pretty decent saves.
He did.
As well. So, I mean, it kind of balanced out a little bit in that degree, but I think, it's just, if we were more confident, probably, we probably would have, at least put a goal away in this type of game in a different type of scenario if we were not winless in 7 coming in. So, I mean, it's the problem that, like, the lack of confidence compounds. And, I mean, this is the thing, if people, and people aren't, but if people want to slag us for just keeping it real and being critical of the team, it's just like, like, what else are you expecting? Because you cannot pump sunshine on this.
You're winless in 8. You just got beat at home. like because you can't score goals. Like it's a difficult one to spin. All right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, yeah, like we're not ones to spin it anyway, but it's just like, there is, as far as solutions, right? Like those people in that front office, like they have it all to do, because, people all over the internet are like, oh, Bob, like, we need to do this, we need to do that. I mean, it's just like, none of that really is gonna be a solution.
Yeah.
As far as
time is gonna be
people.
the only thing that heals this wound right now.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because no one wants to hear that. Everyone wants to hear a solution right now, but it ain't coming. And if it does, I think it's premature and a little irresponsible, and I don't think that that's a good idea. So anyway, we're joined by Nick. Nick, how you doing?
Well, I'm great.
Great, huh?
Right outside Mercedes-Benz, right outside the Reverb. Just came down from the rooftop bar. Hannah's up there today and not with me. But, yeah, just hanging out. Trying to drink all this away, I guess.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
That's all you do.
I'm trying my best. I got one more up there waiting for me for when I get back. And there's a very loud dump truck with this back, and hopefully that's the last time that happens. There we go.
So, let's talk. We haven't really discussed individual player contributions this game yet. Let's talk about Moranchuk. How'd you think he did tonight?
His FOP mob score was very interesting. You look at the end of the first half. He was the only one in green. Still didn't create much. Still going to keep citing my favorite stat, which is 0 assists in 14 games now. But it seems like the way forward for this team is the 3 center back system with 2 attacking midfielders behind the striker. It just seems like that's what they're going to do. And if he's one of those guys, I can deal with that. I don't think the way he gets better is by not playing him. And if he's going to figure it out, it's going to be on the field, or he's just going to not figure it out. I think those are the only 2 viable choices going forward. I think that's where we're at. I don't think he was terrible. I just don't think he was good.
Did you see
More
progress
the same, really.
from him?
I can say that I saw progress. There was a couple passes to TRA. You want TRA to do better on a couple of those. It's his second start of the year, so you never know how that's going to go. But there's a couple of moments where Moranchuk did his job, and the forwards, who had a shot on goal. There's a couple from Saba, one or two from TRA, where you hope that they bury those. And you think if they don't have negative confidence, maybe they do bury those, and that's not on Moranchuk. But at the same time, Moranchuk doesn't exactly have the track record of quality that we've been looking for.
What did you think about Ronnie starting Jamal over Emmanuel Atl, and do you think Emmanuel Atl scores that header that Jamal missed?
He probably scores that header. That's just how our season's been going. The word around the supporter section, and I haven't heard anything yet or seen any post-game stuff. The word around the supporter section was that Latte last wife had a baby this week. Is that true?
Yeah.
Last week.
We confirmed last week. I just wonder if that has anything to do with it. That just seems to me. It could also be like, hey, TRA gained you a point last week. Maybe just give him a run out. I think it could be both of those things. But Latte last probably buries that header, and maybe they're trying to give him some confidence by giving him a run out against tired legs, as he's the fresh legs. But I don't know. It just didn't resonate with me. It didn't really, affect anything on the field. So, hindsight's always 20/20. If you're Ronnie, you're going to try just about anything at this point.
It's
Except
interesting.
for benching Moranchuk, it seems, but
Yeah,
it's
right,
interesting.
exactly. Yeah, that's apparently never going to happen. But, what's interesting about Latte Lot is that it's this is a departure from, if it's the case that he just was I'm going to have Jamal come out because he scored over my $20+ million new signing, this is a departure from form from what Atlanta United basically does. They're basically, their thing is if you have expensive DP, you play expensive DP.
I think context is really key here because, yes, he did have a child last week, we had a 3-game match week, and he started on Wednesday. And
Yeah, he did.
He just came back from, suspension, so he's not exactly like, just absolutely match fit. He missed a week. Like,
That's true.
You lose a little bit of match fitness. So I think, TRA, that's a hot hand type of thing as well, probably. So I think, yeah, it's like, I agree with what you're saying, Nick. I think there is something to it where, yeah, you see what you miss when Emmanuel Lat is not in, because the first touch, it leaves a lot to be desired.
That's a good way to put it, and that's another good segue to, like, why is Brooks Lennon starting when he came off the last 2 matches? He came off in Chicago, and I was half asleep at the end of the Austin match. I remember the goal, but that's about it. But like, at that point, like, why are we not starting Saba at wing back? Like, if Brooks is maybe not 100% and then he comes off in this match anyway, then you burn a sub window bringing Saba on. Like kind of to your point there, like, did we manage that well? But that's also the right wing / right wing back spot. Did that really make a difference? Like, no, it didn't. But in hindsight, could it have? I don't know. But it seems like you're right. Like, we just got to find whoever's going to be the hot hand, and if it's DRA, then I get it. And he's probably also thinking about, to your point, like, they have a week off. Actually 8 days off instead of 7, which is their normal. But then they're going to have Sunday night soccer next week, and they're going to have Wednesday night against Orlando, and then they're going to have Red Bulls on Saturday. Like, they have 3 matches in 7 days again coming up. Like, you're going to need everybody. And maybe they just needed TRA to go out and do 60 minutes. Like, they needed, like, Muyumba was available for 60 minutes today, probably more so than he was for 90. Or, Derek Williams came off at 60 in Austin because he was available for 60 in Austin. He was available for 90 tonight. You just never know where everyone's fitness is at. And that's something that on the outside we wouldn't know.
Yeah, so in terms of fitness, some of the fans have pointed out that the team looked not fit this game. They looked tired. They didn't look like they were able to keep up with Philadelphia. Do you think, because we've had this conversation before, speculating about the training of the team, that they're perhaps overworked, overtrained. Is there a possibility that they're just tired again?
Well, we're also one of the teams that's not playing Open Cup, and so if you're not getting minutes on the weekends for the first, I guess last week was match day 12, Wednesday was match day 13. So for the first 12 weeks of the season, if you're not getting run out there, you're not getting minutes. So that means then when Ronnie needs you to go out there, you haven't had the minutes. Oh, hello there. Then you haven't had the minutes. You haven't had the chance to really go out there and give it your best shot. And I think that's one of the problems of not playing Open Cup this year has been we haven't been able to get some of those guys minutes. Noah Cobb has not seen many minutes unless players were injured or he was chosen.
Yeah,
like
but Nick, we get knocked out first round by a USL team every year. So,
well, was it? I think we played at least 2 or 3 Open Cup games last year. Maybe the year before it was first round. We would have played at least 1 or 2 games. I mean, it would have been more than just like, oh, Austin was our first midweek match.
That's
right?
true.
Just based on the schedule.
That's true. That the team that usually beats us that went away, so it can't get us.
And we
again.
you usually would play an MLS team first, and that goes okay, and then we get the lower team afterwards. But you're right. That has happened enough times to where we have the right to be traumatized. So
yeah,
I'm with you. But I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Like, I wonder. I don't have these numbers in front of me, or I haven't thought about it before now. But I wonder what the other MLS teams who aren't in Open Cup have. I wonder how they played this week. I wonder how that went, because, or if they haven't had Champions League either. Like, you've been playing on Saturdays or the occasional Sunday, and that's just been what it is. You've had your 4 or 5 days minimum in between matches, and your same 11 to 14 players have gone out there. And then when you needed people, maybe they weren't ready. Maybe they've only been playing in Next Pro, and that's not good enough. I just wonder if that's a thing. It could be. not to defend them if they're not fit enough, but I haven't been doing training in a couple of years, so I haven't seen anything. And, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this team is, I think, it's constantly being accused of not being fit enough, and it's just, okay, we can say all sorts of things to speculate, of course. That it's the turf, that they're overtrained, that it's the humidity of Georgia, that it's,
and it's so easy to say that when they've played 3 matches in a week, too. And it's so easy to say that when match number 2, the temperature started at 100 degrees. Obviously, it went down as the sun went down, but that is so easy for us to say, as couch analysts or whatever you want to call it. Like, we're not the ones out there doing it. We have no idea what it's like. So I'm kind of with you all there. I mean,
that's fair, but the counter is that other teams have to deal with the same stuff, and
they do.
They deal with it.
Right, and I think it ultimately comes down to, do you have the quality enough in the minutes that you are playing? And we don't. It clearly
doesn't seem like it.
Yeah,
don't.
Yeah.
And this has been my point to everybody who would listen the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to write this, and Michael's going to edit it soon, but they showed us who they were last year. They're a 12th place team that needed a miracle to finish 9th. That's who they are. And that's who they were last year. That's who they are now. And they had the Red Bulls game was October 5th last year, and they were hot until November 9th. And that's a month. They played well for a month, and they went 2-2-2 in that span, theoretically, if you want to be really technical about it. But that was their best span in 5 years. They went 2-2-2 under Rob, and they didn't play like a 12th place team for 5 weeks. Like, congrats. It's still a 12th place team at the end of the day. And that's where they're at. And that's why I see a lot of folks, including my own dad, saying, who I love very much. Happy belated birthday, Dad. But I see a lot of people being like, oh, Ronnie out. Like, Ronnie doesn't know what he's doing. Well, Ronnie inherited a 12th place team. Like, Gonzalo had a 12th place team. Ronnie had or Rob.
And it's largely the same roster.
It's been 3 managers now. At some point, it isn't the manager's fault. Like, honestly, Ronnie has tried just about everything except for dropping Moranchuk and Lennon, the 2 players I want him to drop. But that doesn't mean that he sees it that way, and that's fine. But he's tried a lot. He's tried different shades. He's tried players in different spots. We went back to the Moranchuk at the 8 and Mickey at the 10 and Saba at the right wing that won us the second game we won, the last game we won on March 26th. It's been almost 2 months. He went back to that today and it didn't work. Like, there's only so much a manager can do before it just has to fall on the players. There's only so much that Garth Lagerway can do. There's only so much. Like,
let me ask you this. I think you're good, but I think because a lot of because I agree with you completely, and I'm sure everyone wrestles with like, well, it's only so much a manager can do, but then you have the what's the word? Like the cachet of the club that this is a club that we want to be taken seriously. So if we don't have managers that perform with what they're given, they're fired pretty quickly, like a big club does. Do you think that is what some of at least the fans are coming from? Because I think that may give them a motivation for why they're all saying dial out. It's like, we deserve better because we're Atlanta United. We shouldn't wait around like we did. And then obviously we're also traumatized by Pineda because he was given a heck of a long leash, way longer than he probably should have. So then they're worried that something similar might happen again. And then they're obviously having a false positive association with thinking like, this is just like Pineda because he's just as limited as Pineda. But I don't think he is. I think he's a better coach. It's just like you said, he doesn't have, the pieces to do what he needs to do with. No one would be able to do much with this team, most likely.
Right. So I think there's 2 parts to this. I look at every manager we've had besides Tata. Like, I wouldn't rather have Frank right now. Like, Frank tried to fix the one problem that 2017 and 18 team had, which was rest defense, and the players didn't like it, so he didn't fix it. I don't want Hines up because he was an asshole. And, like, Gonzo's overall points per game numbers and goal scored numbers were better. Don't forget that 2023 team, like, basically was with Columbus on goals scored. They just couldn't, leak goals for for whatever it's worth. But like, there were a lot of positive moments under Gonzo that I think a lot of people forget. But at the same time, Gonzo dealt with a lot and eventually wasn't the guy. So at a certain point, you just have to stick with somebody. Like, as a Spurs fan, if we win or lose on Wednesday in the Europa League, they still should keep Postecoglou, because they should not erase the progress of them getting to a major final. Because if you look at the injuries he had versus you look at the injuries that Gonzo had, and I mean, Garth has a point when he said this on 929 last week that Ronnie has not had his starting back line for more than one game. I don't think that's why this team sucks, but sure, whatever, you can say that. But I think if you give Ronnie his players, or however they sell it when they sell off a bunch of players in the summer and this winter, then maybe it could get better. I don't know. I also think about how many other managers in MLS would I rather have than Ronnie Dyla? Maybe like 4. Like, not that many. Like, I wouldn't rather have Jim Curtin right now. Jim Curtin wouldn't have this team in 4th place.
God.
Like,
oh my God.
Maybe
Imagine we're doing this bad and we had Jim Curtin. That would make everyone lose their mind.
Right. Imagine if we had gotten Jim and Garth had, convinced the fan base and been like, oh, this is going to be fine after all the comments that happened. And then they were in 12th place. Like, God, imagine how we feel right now. But, I mean, I have my own conspiracy theories that will never be confirmed about how the manager search went. I mean, but imagine if we had Patrick Vieira right now. It wouldn't be fair. Imagine if we had, insert your favorite other MLS manager that's not Wilfred Nancy from Columbus or Jesper from Vancouver. If it's not one of those two guys, like, I don't think this team's really much better right now. Like, maybe they have 1 or 2 more wins. 1 or 2 more wins isn't even putting them above the playoff line right now. I just don't think it's a manager problem, and a lot of people will argue with me about that. I get that hit in multiple Discord servers and on Twitter all the time, and I'm like I've typed this out probably 4 or 5 times already today. Ronnie can't go and score for them. Ronnie can't not stick his arm out in the box to concede a PK. Like, how many soft PKs have we had this year where we lost 1-0 or 2-1? I can think of 3 probably. Like tonight, the rest match, and there's at least one other that I'm not thinking of at the moment. There's at least one more. That's not Ronnie didn't do that to us. Like, Bocanegra didn't even do that to us. If you want to go back that far, like, even though this is mostly Bocanegra's roster, like, they didn't do that to us. The players did that to us. The players deserve our ire. The players deserve the criticism.
So let's talk about that. They also
deserve our support.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because would you say, AJ, had a historic amount of booze rained down upon them today?
No, it actually didn't. There wasn't a boo fest at the end of it, actually.
Okay.
And AJ, it actually was
where were you at the end of the match?
What was that?
Where were you at the end of the match? I don't remember where you told me you said that.
Yeah. I'm in the reserve supporter section, so I'm right there. So, yeah,
as far as over at 102, it was pretty bad, and the Capos didn't really try to stop it, which told me a lot. But at the same time, I mean, it's been happening 3-4 home games in a row now. So I mean, I don't think Duchesne got any claps either when he walks around like he always does. But at that point, I was putting up my flag, and I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, it basically didn't strike me as anything extraordinary as far as a boo fest, because, well,
it didn't.
To be fair, go ahead.
Oh, the one I remember the most was the match before Gonzo got fired last year, the Charlotte 3 Atlanta 2 here, when the ball went in off Derek Williams' you know what, and John Day scored a consolation and we thought we could get it. That match was the one where I remember it the most, because it was like 1 win out of 14 at that point, something crazy. Like, they won 3 out of 5 or whatever to start the year, and then they were 18 matches in and only won 1 more. I don't remember the exact match, but something like that. It was that Charlotte match. That's the one I remember the most. It was full Benz. The 2000 Charlotte supporters were way up there. That's the one I remember the most.
Because as far as performances go, this wasn't our worst performance.
Yeah.
By any means.
I don't think so either. I remember talking to some folks at halftime being like, yes, Brad Guzan, yes, Matt Edwards, yes, Jade Fortune, yes, Tristan Muyumba. Like, lots of folks out there were solid enough. Like, other than the handball, like, I'm kind of done complaining about Luis Abram. Like, Williams was better than he's been. They just have to go and score. And
yeah,
I just think they have negative confidence at the moment. And
yeah, I mean, like,
nothing...
we're stopping high-powered teams from scoring, 3-2 on us every game, like what was happening. So that clearly, despite not having like Steon Gregerson, we're still able to put up a pretty good defensive performance against decent teams right now. So it looks like they shored up the back line. It's just the offense just can't get going still.
Yeah, and it's a bit of that kind of like, it's front to board ball a little bit, where, I mean, you overcorrect in one aspect where you go ultra defensive, but then you cut your, whatever the metaphor is, your nose to spite your face.
Yeah.
I mean, it basically, like, well, we were not really scoring much to begin with anyway, but now it's just even worse because now the players that are forwards are on islands, and our midfield, again, not really great, really pretty bad to begin with, because it's just the dynamism that we need to actually win games, to actually be a good team in this league. It's not coming from midfield. And so,
I'm so glad we traded John De Silva and have less options at winger now. I think that was such a great thing we did.
Yeah.
I mean,
he wasn't doing much anyway. But
somebody's going to come in the summer and then it'll make sense. But like the fact that we basically can't play the 4-3-3 anymore because we have 3 wingers on the team is pretty bad. And I don't know who approved that move. If Chris was like, Garth, I need this cap space. Like, please approve this. From everything that we've heard, if you've listened to the Soccer Wise podcast, Matt Doyle basically was like, yeah, St. Louis approached Atlanta about John Day, and if they were willing to take this cap hit, maybe they weren't wanting to trade him, but they got a deal they couldn't refuse, and that was a deal they couldn't refuse. I don't know, but it just sucked. Like, it basically feels like we're stuck with the 3 center back system for now, and you're sacrificing a forward or a midfielder for that 3rd center back. But if Matt Edwards is going to play that well, like, I'm okay with that.
So to your point, like, this seems to me like they're fully prepared for and are in the process of starting, the fire sale, the rebuild. Like, they are in that mode once again. And this is like, okay, we need to start this process ASAP. I mean, moving him right now, and obviously, unfortunately, what that incurs is basically at least for now, a punted season. They can try and fix that, come summer, but at that point, things may have already gotten too far away from you. But
it could have.
I just think that this is a sign of what we've seen before. They have eyes for later, because right now they realize, we have way too much that is just not working, and we really need to start moving it. And oh man, someone wants one of the guys we were planning on moving. Yes, let's start.
Yeah, like someone wants one of our 11 guys that's out of contract at the end of the year. I'm like, sure, let's take that cap hit off. I mean, and this is not, I don't think, talked enough about by anybody. There's like 11 dudes out of contract at the end of the year. Like, you go through it, like, you can count them on more than 2 hands. And if you can replace those 11 guys effectively, if Chris Henderson is the one replacing Boca Negra's players effectively, 2026 looks really good. But that doesn't make you feel any better about how this is going right now. That doesn't make season ticket holders, want to renew their tickets for next year.
Yeah, that's the price hike is going to be announced, in like 2 months, was it that I heard?
Right. And
is there going to be a price hike? I had heard
I'm assuming
they were not going to price hike it. You should just assume. I mean, we could just blame the tariffs for the price hike too, but
I could just guarantee they were like, all right, we already put this into our business projections in the beginning of the season because we expect to absolutely kill it this year with all these additions. So now we can't obviously rescind them and take them back at this point.
Oh no,
because it's already been that money is earmarked and allocated.
And they'll use all their corporate jargon, like, let's circle back to this and let's all that.
Yeah, it's annoying because it's just like, oh, well, you have all these like sponsors and other things. They're expecting X, Y, and Z money now based on what we're supposed to be doing this season, And then now it's like, well, now they feel bad having to be forced to charge these numbers. I feel like that was a little bit like last year too, but I think if this happens again, I'm like 100% that is what's going on.
Yeah, and the concessions were not good enough.
Yeah.
Essentially, I mean, essentially for people that it's like I'm not using any of the things that they conceded on because it just really isn't like good enough. It ultimately, like, why would I spend money on an away day right now?
Yeah, and if you see the people, traveling and like there's not like a whole lot of them, so it's obviously not a lot of people are utilizing that either.
Exactly. And then to know which games you want to skip, before the season starts is just like, come on, guys. Like you're asking me to revolve my life around what you guys are doing. Listen, it already is, to be honest.
I was about to say, AJ, are you sure about that?
Yeah. But
he's speaking for the rest of us.
Yeah, exactly. But on a degree of knowing what I'm going to be doing 8 months from now, like,
right.
I mean, yes. Like, there are some of us that plan very meticulously throughout the year, have all your vacations planned, but let's just be real. Like, it's, that stuff is not good enough as a concession for fans as season ticket holders. But now, on the other side of it, it's because we were talking about, the players from last year and whatnot. We were not ruthless enough in the offseason. Yes, it's hindsight, but the very fact that, Shane Silva, yes, he scored that goal against Miami, but
Jamal got that price in Miami. Like, was he worth another TAM contract?
Yeah.
Like, how many players' jobs were saved by that Miami series? Like, Guzan, Ronald Hernandez played all 3 games. It was decent. Like, Luis Abram would have gotten chipped off. Like, would Bartek Salish have been a starter this year if he wouldn't have scored the winner? I mean, not that that's his main job in life, but would Bartek Salish have looked that good if Dax McCarty wasn't there? Like, is Jamal Tiare gonna get a new contract if he doesn't brace their way into this conference semifinals? Like, I don't know. Could we have replaced all those guys with MLS vets? Maybe.
Maybe. But ultimately, you have to look at the totality of their season. And the totality of their season is that they underperformed for 90% of the season.
Some of them did. I'll counter with Jamal Tiare did score 10 goals last year. And, Guzan was a lot better in 24 than he was in 23. And you're not going to just kick him to the curb. Like, you're going to let him go on his own terms. Kind of like the Braves with Brian Snitker right now, even though I'm annoyed at Brian Snitker because they lost today. Sorry, that's my Braves moment of the show. But I think you're right. I think about that a lot. Like, how many jobs did the Miami series save? It didn't save Bocanegra's job, and it didn't save Rob's job, but it maybe would have saved too many of the players' jobs.
Yeah.
Like John.
Sorry, man. But it is this. It's like, yes, if you follow basketball, there is a plus minus type of thing that I don't think it really, footy soccer fans don't really, I think, whatever the word is, basically, they don't really, I think, wrap their minds around that, there's this whole weakest link type of thing that does happen with soccer, with football. And, yes, there is, in basketball, you can really rely on one player to, I think, put you over the top. But there is, for footy, yes, one player can really wreck things for you as well, as we've seen, in not to pick on one person specifically, but Edwin Mosquera versus Philly last year, that, was really self-inflicted. That's self-sabotage.
The back pass. Oh my God.
Yeah, heard around the world.
Right. But there's that type of thing where, okay, yes, Brad Guzan did have a great season last year, but there is a plus minus when all of the players, it's not just one player that also can wreck a game for you. All the players on the pitch, when you get scored on, usually it's not just because of one player. It's
No.
because a very big domino effect.
Like, does Luis Brom have to slide and wave his hand out weird if Brad Guzan doesn't come out of his net? Like, no. And has Brad Guzan been the main problem this year? Also, no. But, like, come on, y'all. Like,
Yeah.
Brad, you're 40. That's a U10 mistake. Oh.
So it's a team game, and so that's what my point is, that last year, most of the team underperformed. Do you have to move every single player? No, but you do have to assess who helped you the most in totality throughout the season. Who can you move to get a better player in? Because, like I said last year, I promise you, you can bring in better players than what we've got right now.
You can, and that's a hard one because, like, you probably want to give Sleesh and Gregerson, like, year 2 to figure it out. Like, Saba was so good last year, like, you're going to bring him back. I mean, there's enough of those, of the core kind of pieces. Like, if you believe what Garth said, that William Ba was injured for a large portion of last year, you're going to bring him back and give him a shot. That one was clearly worked out, in my opinion. But it's so hard, like, some of the players we've talked about, like, maybe they got saved and they shouldn't have. You know, I don't know. Like, some of the, like, do y'all remember at one of the postseason pressers last year when Garth said some of the players are going to have their contracts recalibrated to their roles on the team, and we all kind of giggled about it because we thought it was funny. And then we look back this year and, like, you know, TRA is still a TAM player, and we didn't really get better in central midfield, and Dax McCarty left at age 38, and that is now killing us. And we haven't really gotten better in the attack, and we just sold off a piece and didn't bring anyone in. And it's like, well, like, you look at it between the lineup that started in Orlando or Miami Game 3 or whatever you wanted to say, and, like, God, it's worse. It isn't better. Like, it's worse. And that's why I just keep going back to, like, you just got to give whatever manager you're going to pick a chance.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna get better if you keep chopping and changing people out. And obviously players need time to acclimate too. That's why you, like I said, that's why you give Sleesh and Gregerson and Saba, you know, their next years. That's why you give Moranchuk the chance. That's one of the reasons why I think, oh, Hannah's down here now. Hi, Hannah.
Why don't you give us your final thoughts, Nick?
There we go. So, final thoughts. This is kind of ass. Not much to it other than that. I don't even know what I'm going to write. So, Michael, I'm sorry for whatever you're going to read tomorrow or Monday, whenever I finish it. That's my final thought. I apologize in advance, but it'll be okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
We're going to figure it out together. I apologize for everyone who's going to come to Sunday Night Soccer next week, because that's going to suck. Maybe they'll figure it out for Orlando on next Wednesday, and that'll be kind of what it is.
Appreciate it, Nick.
Yep. Y'all have a good night. Enjoy.
Have a fun time out there.
See ya.
Be safe.
Thank you. All right. See ya.
See ya.
Yep.
Before we get to our next guest, Nick in the ATL couldn't be with us tonight, but he wanted me to say ATL 0, Philadelphia 1, winless in 8, we fucking suck. That is what he wanted me to say, so that is what I said. And unfortunately, I agree with it right now. So, yeah. All right, so we're going to get Bill Gluckman in here to air out his grievances about the team. And before we do that, let me read some of the chat too. All right, so Kevin B says, I couldn't bring myself to watch the presser. TJR1504 says, this is literally the worst football team I've ever watched. I've never thought I'd get here, but I'm done for this season, and most likely done as a season ticket holder, founding member. Absolutely pathetic. A1 Products more MRO says, from top 4 aspirations to bottom 4 reality.
That sounds like something eerily that I wrote. But
Connor Thompson says, yeah, you want to say something about that? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit of this. It's like, basically, for Ronnie Dyla, he was given keys to a Pinto, and, you know, like, but he's been asked to drive it like an F1 car. Like, it really is. Like, yes, he maybe isn't an F1 driver. He may just be a civilian, but he was given a bunch of crap. And unfortunately, like, I'm not trying to say, like, these people are like bad humans, but players
Of course not, yeah.
are clearly not it.
Yeah.
And they're suffering. Yes, we want to support them as much as we can, but as far as player prowess, performance-wise, it ain't it. And as soon as we can, we have to get rid of as many of them that are underperforming.
Yeah. Connor Thompson says, to be honest, this offseason was not good. Only 2 players, 0 defensive ads. I think we need to play boring 1-0 wins or 0-0 draws. Someone needs to be fired. Cameron Olfati says, Ronnie said in the press conference, we got nothing to lose. Abandon the games. Connor Thompson says, last question before I pass out, so blackout. How many players on our roster are part of the Boca era and who are not? There's quite a few of them in the Boca era. Most of them. Basically all of them. Except for the ones that obviously was Togashi, Almiron, and Latte Lot are Henderson signings. So yeah. That's a lot of guys that have been brought on that, in my estimation, by a guy who wasn't very good at his job. So that's just my opinion on it. Connor Thompson also says, wave him, Arthur blank got the money. Wave him. Fabian Perez. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you can't do that. Fabian Perez says, it's impressive how we always get the worst out of these quote-unquote talented players. The team still feels like a Pineda team, especially recently. Cameron says, the fans must act. Baraka says, we managed to look busy while doing nothing. I've heard that term before. Cameron also says, there's no tactics or there's no build-up. Gozan to Latte and everyone in between has no plan on how to get the ball forward. That's what a goalkeeper is supposed to do. He didn't do anything good. That's his job, to save the ball from the back of the net. Anu, how you doing, Anu? He says, let the SS in the 30th minute and left the SS in the 30th minute and didn't get back until the 62nd minute. That's how disappointed I was watching this match. And that's saying a lot from a diehard fan. Connor says, who else in the front office should be fired? Like the smaller admins. I don't know if we're quite there yet at that point. Philip Mosley says, dial out too many players that he can't get the best out of. I hate comparing him to Rob, but Rob was able to have some fight and attack with a way worse team lacking 2 DPs.
Let's hang on there.
Sure.
Because this is the thing. Valentino, as great as he was at motivating players, they weren't playing well when, pretty much for the majority of his time as the interim, until we hit that month stretch. So, unfortunately, it also is this. I think being ruthless with Rob Valentino was the right move, but you also have to bring in somebody that can motivate the players, but also be more experienced and have more of a nous in making us be able to play protagonist football. And I mean, I don't know if Ronnie Dowd is it, but you know, it is where Valentino, unfortunately, it's why he hasn't been hired at other spots as well. He was up for the Vancouver job. He was up for, you know, U.S. men's national team jobs. And didn't get him.
Yeah.
Why is that?
It's interesting. Yeah. And, you know, no slight to him because he seems like a wonderful human, but you got to look at the facts. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Like,
so
technically, it's not quite there. He needs probably some, you know, USL jobs, all that type of stuff to really develop that muscle and just prove himself. Because, unfortunately, it's not been proven yet.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, I don't want to dispel any of the, you know, heroism that we saw from the team when we played Miami, but outside of some select Argentine players that roll out the red carpet for Miami, and Messi. Outside of that, a lot of teams and a lot of players, they get the fuck up to play against Messi. They way overperform in order to be like, I'm showing up against the best player in the world. So we did that as well. And it's not to be, that's part of it. That's something to be expected. It's kind of like a Messi effect on the other side of things. All right, so now we're joined by a good friend of ours under the pseudonym of Bill Gluckman. If anyone can figure out who this man is, he is a secret identity. But no, seriously. Our good friend Bill, how are you doing? Welcome in.
I'm so tired of this. It's exhausting at this point, being this bad for so long. I can't imagine, like, if I'm thinking about so far this season who our two best players is. One is an injured left back who has basically barely played, and one is a 67, maybe 70-year-old goalkeeper who randomly stands on his head, but there's so much that's not redeemable here. I'm tired of talking about Ronnie. I'm tired of talking about the players. Fire Arthur Blank.
Fire Arthur Blank.
Teams.
Okay. All right. He's calling out the head honcho himself. Who would you get to replace Arthur Blank?
Sarah Blakely.
Sarah Blakely. Okay.
Anyone else? For the love of God.
So about the game in particular, did anything stand out to you? We talked about quite a few things throughout the stream so far. I don't know if you were listening, but yeah, what stood out to you?
I listened. So I think what's important in MLS is no matter who you are, no matter how good you are, the schedule will be undefeated against you. At some point, you'll have to be smart with who you play, when you play, and how you rotate during the week when you played midweek in 100 degrees. But you earn the right to rotate by playing well when you don't have to rotate. So your best 11 goes out and wins you games. So when you have midweek games, 2,500 miles away in 100-degree heat, you can play anyone you want and not care. We haven't earned the right because we've never played well this whole season. And, maybe ELL needed a rotation. Maybe Latte Loft needed to sit. Lennon clearly needed to sit. Like, there are things you need to play that'll eventually hurt you if you don't. But man, we are just not very good offensively, and until we figure something out, we're going to continue to be bad. We're going to continue to just suck and rely on, our three chances tonight were a volley from a left back, a ball to a striker who missed a sitter on his head. Sorry, Jamal. And somehow Williams in the six. Like, we didn't challenge the key. We'll talk about the keeper played well for them, but we didn't really challenge him enough. Like, this is bad. So what stood out to me is we looked tired and we played like crap offensively, and we've done that over and over and over and over again this season.
I think there was one more chance. I think the Mickey chance when Emmanuel Atl was able to bring it down to the box. So yeah, I think he probably should have put it anywhere else except for at the keeper.
Yeah.
Saba had one on target from pretty close on a Miggy, where Miggy brought it down too.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, those two. Anywhere else. That's the thing. Saba. That's the thing. Like, he was near post. He tried to shoot it at far post. It wasn't far enough. It was close enough to the keeper that he was able to get it. But yeah, it's just not enough of a killer instinct, and just frankly, ball placement. Like, they're just not good enough. Like, they don't have the confidence to put him into a bottom corner, and it's just
yeah.
Like, time and time again.
Talking about confidence for a second, Bill, did you catch the press conference?
No, I'd rather stab myself in the eye than watch another press conference where we talk about the same thing over and over again.
So this one's interesting because it was not the same as usual. I think Ronnie really just kind of laid bare that, what we kind of already all know, but, in the past conferences, to me at least, he was, obfuscating and being euphemistic about what's the problem, who's to blame kind of thing or whatever. He just very much pointed to it this time and was like, well, there's just no confidence in this team. And what he did say, he kind of described it in various ways, but one of the ways he described it was that there doesn't seem to be a big personality on this team. What did you make of that, or what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think some sort of veteran leadership somewhere outside of the goal is desperately missing. I don't know where you find it on this squad, but we can talk about what the squad's missing. But Jeff, Parkhurst are the type of players you're missing. Dak could do it somewhat last year. Like, we're just missing someone who's played 10 years of professional football, who is a consummate professional, who can lead the room. And it just has to sit somewhere in the spine. Somewhere between Brad Guzan and the other goalkeeper has to be some player who's vocal, who wants to win, who wants to know how to play, who sets people straight. To me, that's one of the two things missing. The other thing is, and there was a moment late in the game where Miggy picks up the ball 65, 70 yards from goal, turns like he's going to do something. And that's not Miggy. So there needs to be some understanding of what each player brings. The MLS is full of what I call table players. So they're guys who bring something to the table and take something away. They're what you want at a potluck. They bring some food, they eat some, right? There's no one here that's just bringing a ton of great food. There's no one who is Kevin De Bruyne. There's no one here who's Erling Haaland. There's just a bunch of people who are going to bring something and take something away. We have no understanding of what people take away. We put people into the wrong place, right? If I'm looking at Mascara, I don't want him with the ball within my in the first third, maybe even the second third. I want to play him long. If I'm looking at him, I know he's left-footed. I know he's going left. I know he's going to attack, so I have to provide him support. If I'm playing the ball to Saba, I want it wide enough so he has space to act. Like, each ball has to be to a player's strength, and we are missing that desperately. This team with Miggy for Barco would be mid-table. Like, that's as simple. Or Barco for Miranchuk. Someone to play. Barco used to facilitate the middle third really well. We don't have that. He used to play a ball to the right foot of a player. We don't have that. Like, we don't have a player. Almada was ungodly good at it, but he'd pick up the ball 60 yards from goal, start a run, play a ball to a player, and you'd be like, wow, that player looks really good. But it was really good because it would be on their right foot or their left foot. It would be into space. It would be behind. It would be perfectly positioned for their strengths.
Exactly. And we brought that up earlier. Yeah, 100%. I said, like, all the balls we would get in the box and we had chances, the ball's bopping around. It's got spin on it. It's bouncing. They can't bring it down. They can't control it. It was just so frustrating. Every time we would get it, you would be like, okay, they try and trap it. They get closed down by like 5 guys and they go to like take a shot. And that's why we have so many damn block shots every game. Like, the other team's blocking shots like crazy because they can't all get their guys in position to get, their bodies in the way.
Because you can't take that many touches in the box. And it comes down to Miranchuk. That's why he has 0 assists, because yes, he gets them in the area. Yeah, his silver score is looking great. Yeah, like, he's the only one in the green. But the ball isn't on the right foot.
Yeah.
And so, like, we pointed out early in the season as well, where, he put a ball into Miguel Almiron, onto his right foot.
A volley. Another one of his classic, impossible to control type balls,
Right.
But
we all know, like, the whole world knows, that Miggy is left-footed. Right foot is standing foot only. He's not going to get to it. He's not going to be able to do anything with it. And it's just time and time again, like I mentioned in different episodes, where it's Thierry Henry spoke with Arsene Wenger, like one of the best players in the world ever, and he was trying to understand, like, oh man, like, why can't I get the ball from my teammates? Why can't I make these other guys? He was getting frustrated with his teammates, but then Arsene Wenger made him kind of think differently, in the sense of, like, okay, well, where does Freddie Youngberg like the ball? Where does Robert Pires like the ball? And those things, it's like, okay, well, some players run with their head down and they're not looking up, so they don't know where the other players are. Unfortunately, yeah, we have a lot of those type of players on the team. But it's that, like, where do they like to serve the ball as well so that they look the best? It's exactly what Bill's saying, is that these players still have not, in Game 13, have not figured out where the best, where the tendencies are for each player. That is incredibly damning.
Yeah.
For Game 13, you had a whole preseason together. What were we doing in the preseason? We were playing.
We were knocking in crosses to Tagashi for him to head in. That's what we were doing.
Exactly. Right. I mean, yes, Manuel Atl Utd wasn't in the team, to start the preseason. But we also played, again, teams that, well, we got beat by USL teams too. But they weren't good enough opposition either. Yeah. So it's just like, we shot ourselves in the foot from preseason.
Yeah, Bill. In terms of, let's say, so some people are saying, like, I don't know about this per se, but they're saying, where's Abram's arm supposed to go when he's sliding? Is that not a quote-unquote natural position? Or when you're sliding, in order to prop yourself up and to give yourself, a ability to stabilize through your slide, your arm kind of goes up a little bit. And is that unnatural to you? Or is that like he could have like slid like a pencil, how you dive like pencil style into the water, could like slide like that? Is that what he was supposed to do?
Yeah, as an offensive player my whole life, largely as a winger, some as a striker, anytime the ball touches a defender's hand, it's clearly a handball and clearly a penalty and probably a red card. But no, I think there are some legitimate gripes, but that hand for me is a little bit too extended versus closer. So if it's down towards his side, it's going to be impossible. But if it's down more towards his side, I think it's fine. I think it's up and out a tiny bit, and that's what gets him. And it's unfortunate, and it's, part of the game. And you don't put yourself in those positions, and it doesn't happen. But regardless of the penalty, and regardless of the fact that we continue to concede penalties on mind-boggling handballs over and over again, I think I'm third on the team in goals in May, and that's pretty problematic. I might be third on the team in goals in April and May. Like, AJ is tied as well. I don't know if you are, but that's bad. Like, we can sit here and say that handball, but I don't know if that handball and penalty doesn't get called if they don't score. They were the team that created more dangerous chances and more chances this game. We created less than them. Eventually you get burned by doing that. Now, it wasn't crazy. We had possession. We had a couple chances, but if that PK doesn't get called, I think we probably still concede and lose 1-0. Brad had a good game, which is a lot. Another 4 or 5 save game out of him. Like, we can't live off that, and we can't live off not scoring. So as much as, we can dissect the penalty, you really only earn that right if you ever threaten the goal in a way that's meaningful. And outside of 2 decent saves, we weren't threatening. They were the better side. They let us do what we wanted in the middle third and then let us choke in the final third.
All right, so how about that point about letting us do? Let's talk about tactics on Philadelphia's side. At halftime, they made changes, tactical ones. And at least the Apple commentators, and I think also Jason and Michael, were like, that kind of threw us for a loop. Did Ronnie Dyla get out-coached here?
So I think so in a little bit. Right, so the first thing we need to know is it's hard from the outside to know fitness after a midweek game, right? So did ELL come off? Did Latte Loth come off because he was fit issue in Austin? Did he come off with something minor? Did he come off with something else? Obviously, the kid could potentially be another thing, but did he come off for a reason? Was he limited in minutes? Even if any injury report comes out, we'll never know. But that game was screaming for Latte Loth for Jamal at halftime. I think the Brooks sub definitely changes the way you have to think about it. To me, that game begged to really change the formation and put a stamp on it when Brooks came off, doing something differently. And we continued to operate the same way, which I think created issues for us more than anything else. I mean, Saba's not a wingback. That was to me that just begged for a 4-2-3-1 and pushed Miggy back wide. But Miggy and Mira were, holding hands for half of the period after Saba came in. Probably he got outcoached, but to me it's more of you had an injury blow, you had the midweek match, now you have to adjust in a way that makes sense. It begged for 4-back. It begged to put Edwards as a fullback. It begged to bring Saba forward. It begged to create some space and some width between Miggy and Mira, and I don't think we answered that well. I think we stayed consistently bad, and to me that was a missed opportunity.
AJ, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with mostly what Bill's saying. I think it's as far as I think Saba fits as a wingback in this system if we have Manuel Atl in scoring form. If we have anybody else in midfield. Fortune, I think, still does a lot in this team, but it's just Tristan Muyamba, I don't know. It's just there's not a ton he's really doing. It's just a little bit of this. It's because both he and Muyamba, there's some similarities, but then there's not enough, again, dynamism. And you don't have a person that can take care of the ball. You don't have a person that can essentially stitch those lines, like I'm always talking about, and where they're always available. And it doesn't exist. And it's just ultimately, it's just a highly flawed roster that we're seeing it. We're seeing it in its bare, just absolutely nakedness.
Yeah, it's getting exposed week after week.
Yeah, and there's no real way that I think it's gonna get better unless maybe we. It ain't gonna happen because they're not good enough. But if we just have all midfielders, as far as just play as many midfielders as you can, where basically you try to keep the ball and you basically try to outpass them into the box to death and EL up top.
Screw it.
But we don't have the technicians. So,
we're already losing, so screw it. What could be worse?
Bring Schleich, bring Click, and say fuck a winger,
So, Bill, would you like to hang out with us for a little bit while I read some of the chat and answer some of these questions?
Yeah, sounds good. The only thing I'd add is...
Yeah, go for it.
The one thing I like about Schleich is every time I see him play in a game we're not doing great, he seems to want to win. At the end of that match, he was wanting to win, and I at least appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't get that from enough players.
I completely agree.
It's true.
Yeah.
But it's also the first 60 minutes, I don't feel like we were really, really wanting to score. Like essentially, it seemed like a team that was playing scared. But
just like last game,
we have the ball. We have the ball, but they're not trying to do much with it.
Yeah, I mean, just like we pointed out last game, the team was afraid to be the first team to flinch, to get scored on first, and then now you're chasing the game. And you can't win like that, and we said you were not going to win against a high-scoring team like Philadelphia like that. They will come to you, and they will score if you play scared. I mean, granted, we actually held them to a lot of chances, and we didn't let them just like run amok on us in open play and run up a score like that. They had to score on a penalty kick, but inevitably it still came, and that's kind of like our premonition came true, and they're doing it again, right? And hopefully they're gonna learn from that. And I'm kind of with you, just like throw the kitchen sink at them, just go at them, and if you get counterattacked and beaten and killed, it's like, oh well, you were probably gonna lose anyway if you played passive and scared. All right, so let's look at some of these comments. Debo Vibe says, how I long for the days of Darlington Nagby, Joseph, and excitement. Oh, speaking of that, I got to show you guys something. You guys on the stream can, you, AJ, and Bill can look at the stream later when I show you this, but Bill might enjoy it a lot. But let me see if I can put this up. I got a new card in the mail today. It is a relic Joseph Martinez out of 20 autographed what's it called when they have the piece of the jersey on the card. So yeah, that was something I've been looking forward to, getting a signed autograph card from Joseph Martinez. So anyway, that's yeah, I'm also clearly longing for those days still, considering still grabbing that kind of stuff. Yeah, so this is not the Atlanta United we know and love. It's heartbreaking. Connor Thompson says, I hope they get water. A1 Products More Row says, why is it season after season we are talking about who should be fired? That's a club problem. Yeah, we talked about a bit of that and the culture of it and things of that sort. Victory 3.0 says, what the manager can do is realize we are getting diminishing returns playing Almiron, Alexi, and Saba at the same time. We are still only 8 points from 9th. Can someone explain why Williams is missing a chance in the 6-yard box and Almiron is on the half line? Anyone want to talk about that for a second?
I need to see that play over in order to actually speak on it, so no.
But yeah, Williams shouldn't be missing that anyway. But unfortunately, goalie got it. Connor Thompson says, with that logic, ban the technical director from scouting. Allow the coach to pick the players. Zero interference. Yeah, obviously no, but Drew Langston, go for it.
Yeah, with that, it's like head coaches nowadays, that's why they're head coaches, they don't have that autonomy within a club. So they're also not doing their homework to be scouting players or looking at all the players that they want and all that anyway. So it would be very strange to do that now. And yeah, it would just be it'd also be an FU to Chris Henderson as well, which really ultimately doesn't matter per se, but it's more that because it's you're just really wanting anybody to be competent at their job. So
Drew Langston says, this team lost my respect, period. I don't even want to give this team my hard-earned money anymore. I have been going to almost, I feel like this is just a completely separate issue. It has really nothing to do with anything, but I just find it funny that people always put hard-earned money. They never say like my money or anything like that. It's always hard-earned. And obviously, I'm not saying people don't work hard for their money, but it's just like, I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting. Might easily. I mean, like, let's be real. Some of you motherfuckers out there are on passive income. It's not that hard. Anyway, so I
put my lottery earnings into this team so much. It's rough.
Yeah, and somehow we're still down bad. He also says, I've been going to almost every home game since inception. Big changes need to happen. Chris Weary says, can we trade Moranchuk for Ezekiel Barco? Oh, someone's been listening to Barco or Bill Gluckman and reading his mind. Who is playing in Russia and just call it a wash? Baraka says, no plan, no tactics, all vibes. That's the summary of the season so far. Rob was a band-aid to an open wound that has been gushing blood for a while. He was a temporary fix and nothing more. I mean, yeah, in my article I wrote about that, having a vibes guy come in and help to create an FEA situation, get them over the hump in the playoffs, get some wins, and to do the unfathomable is temporary. Just like Messi being in Miami is temporary. Him just being there is not going to make Miami good for forever because he'll eventually leave. And when he does, the cachet of that player goes with him. And I think you need to have a more established ethos of the club, a core cultural zeitgeist that the players can glom onto when they come here. They know what they're getting themselves into. So, that's just weird music that just came on. That was kind of funny. Anyway, let's see. Next comment is Bullet08. I don't know if I've seen you before in the chat, but welcome. He says, yo, what's up, AJ? What's up, chat? I'm out of the loop, just tapped in. Well, welcome. Cameron.
Yeah, my boy Bullet. Yeah. It's if it's BULLEIT, yeah.
BULLITT08.
Okay, never mind. But same guy. Yeah.
Okay. Cameron also says, take Stone out of any conversation. Has he even played 2 games in a row? I don't know. He's talking about Stone.
Yeah, Stone? Yeah.
Yeah. Javier M says, we're trash. We waste money on trash. Kevin B says, can Bill Gluckman play on the left wing? And Umi says, no way 40K fans went to this game. I mean, it did look pretty vacant in the stands.
I was there, and it wasn't 40K. I'm going to go 23.
This is the thing. It's like, there's people in the corridors, there's people in the, everywhere else, too.
Or Anu, who spends most of the game, hanging out, in the concessions and other things, talking to people and living it up instead of watching the game, because admittedly, it's not very interesting.
Yeah. I think it's, way less than usual, but, I mean, again, it's the whole paid attendance, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll never know, I guess. Christopher Abraham says, so there's a couple of things to work on. Sell Moranchuk and go for a DP winger, cut Guzan's contract, sign a new goalkeeper, sell Abrams and Williams, buy 2 center backs with English experience. He also says, either sell Amador or Lennon, preferably Lennon, then buy a replacement. We need more defensive right back, so then Amador has more freedom on the left side, much more preferred, and this is a bare minimum. So what do you guys think of his Christopher Abraham's fixes?
The last thing I agree with, but selling both of our center backs, when? What's the context of timeline? Because people are out of contract again, and again, people are clubs are not going to just take your trash. So, and it's not that these players are trash or whatever, but it's just if you have a player that's on high wages and they're not really performing that well, it's a little bit hard they're basically immovable.
Yeah.
Unless you eat a shit ton of that contract, and we can't do that for every single player that we move. So, unfortunately, you're gonna have to, deal with some of the players that just basically have to stay. And Moranchuk, I just don't see how you're gonna be able to do that.
All right, guys, get your comments and questions in before we finish up here. Javier says, did we lose all connections with Latin America? Yeah, that's something we talked about, I think, last time a little bit. Do you guys want to talk about that at all?
MJ. All right. Bill.
Yeah, I think Amador fits in a 4-back left back, so I don't know that you need to help him defensively. He's also our creative player right now, so whatever. And Williams is a center back with English professional experience. So
he is. Yeah.
he is one of those people. I think you have two third-string center backs in Oprum and Williams, which is problematic. You need first-choice guys, and then let Cobb or Edwards or whoever fill in behind them. What was the other thing I'm supposed to respond to? It's a rough day.
Can you play left wing? No, I'm just kidding. That's not really.
I cannot play left wing.
He also wanted to know.
Inside.
Javier M wants to know: do we lose all connection with Latin America? Obviously, the question being, why don't we go look there anymore?
I don't know why. Obviously, scouting is both an art and a science, but if you're telling me a truckload of money and $600K can't get you an U22 that's talented, or we can't find another 10, or we can't find an 8, we can't find a 6, like, I understand the idea of going to Europe, but I think you need to blend both to be successful. And I think that's the challenge here, is we go A or B, not A and B. You need to look for talent anywhere you can find it in a way that's meaningful. And I think right now we're just bad at that.
And, you know, to knock on about, like what we talked about last week as well, to compound all this, is that we believe, at least it seems to be the case in our experience as a club, you get these players from Latin America that are coming here to prove themselves to go to Europe, versus getting guys who are in Europe and they come back here and they rest on their laurels and or think MLS is a cakewalk and then have like a rude awakening. I feel like we've had more success with the former than the latter. Obviously, we don't have a large sample size in general, but definitely not of the European ilk. So there's still some questions to be asked about that. But I wouldn't, I mean, just based on what we know, the small sample size we have, I would like to go back to that well, because we've had some success there.
Sure. But it's not the only well.
Yep.
You know, and so, yeah, we have been shopping in some different markets as well. I mean, obviously Japan too. But how about the MLS market, where, you know, maybe if we're such a big club, how about we shop in our own backyard, where we poach the players that are doing well on other teams in MLS, and also coaches that are doing well on other teams in MLS. We missed out on Wilfred Nancy. Like, that's like 100%. And whether he was actually willing to come, gonna come, or not, we never even looked at him.
Yeah.
Because we kept on with Gonzalo Pineda, who was, okay, yeah, in 2023, sure, but yeah, it's like, again, if we're a big club, you gotta be ruthless.
Yeah, agree. Christopher Abram says, would you prefer Latin-based chemistry or European-based chemistry? I don't think you have to prefer one over the other. I think a mixture is perfectly fine. Like, I think it probably would even be superior. But yeah, I mean, obviously we're having issues with integrating guys together, and I don't think it's a nationality issue whatsoever with our club. Because obviously a lot of clubs figure that out all the time. You know, they get different guys from different walks of life to play with each other, language barriers and all, and they're fine. So we have other issues that are going on besides that. So I don't prefer, you know, one over the other. I doubt you guys do, but I'll ask you anyway because someone asked.
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously the Premier League is able to integrate a lot of that together. Because, well, I think it's more, there is something to it as well, that MLS is in some ways similar to the Premier League because of the physicality. There's some, you know, technicality in some senses of, you know, technical ability, but obviously a lot less. But you're able to integrate players from all over the world, the Premier League. Obviously, you know, you look at maybe like Bundesliga, there's probably a lot more German influence than, you know, others for obvious reasons, but there's not really, yeah, you have some, a lot of Americans over there. You have, I mean, Bayern Munich with a lot of different types of talent, but that's, Bayern Munich. But the rest of the clubs, they're a little bit more homegrown than other leagues. La Liga is a lot more based on the technical aspects, although it's getting a little bit more physical. You have Serie A, where it's definitely more defensive based, and yeah, you're not really trying to, I guess it's not based in like swashbuckling football. And yeah, if we're looking at all the big leagues, it's like, yeah, there's certain characteristics with each. In MLS, again, it's that physicality and what teams are able to produce the most homegrown talent at the cheapest and really churn them out to different leagues all around the world. I mean, you look at New York Red Bulls, you look at Philadelphia Union, you look at FC Dallas, all clubs that churn out talent. If we have really an unlimited checkbook, and to a degree, yeah, we're churning a lot of left backs out, but other than that, arguably we're underperforming a little bit as far as our academy. So I think there's something to that where shopping in our own backyard, having our academy better, so that we're not relying on all these other countries and markets for players that are essentially crapshoots.
Yeah.
So that's what they've been.
Yeah.
For the past 6 years.
Yeah.
Maybe even 7.
So to answer your question, Javier, also, should the club keep looking for more Eastern European players? My thing about this is like that's not the right question. It's not about like who they are, where they're coming from. It's about if they fit what we're trying to do and they're the right pieces. That guy could be from anywhere. And if we just know how to find them, I think that's what's important. So if we have an entire team of Indonesians, I don't care if as long as they win the MLS Cup, it doesn't matter. So, if as long as it works, that's the way I think we should be going about it. I don't think like one part of the world just makes better soccer players for a discount or something like that we should be going in after. I don't like look at the scouting meta like that, like some people do on like the Football Manager and stuff online. Kevin B says, looking into players in our backyard, is there a specific player you think would be a great pickup for Atlanta, AJ? And I'll ask you too, Bill, after this.
One player's not going to fix what's going on.
Right.
So it's not really.
But is there something you're like when you suggest this? Did a name come to your mind?
I think it's more that there's a lot of clubs in MLS that are able to bring in their own players up, and they're thriving. And so, okay, yeah, if they're gonna be sold off to Europe, well, so be it. But if there's a player that is doing well, maybe not quite set for Europe, let's go and poach them. And I think that's the main point, is that, again, it doesn't matter where they're coming from.
Well, but, like Sullivan on Philadelphia?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, right now, in our current state, it's going to be incredibly difficult to do that. But if we did that in the off-season where, hype was high, sure. There's maybe a possibility of, maybe not Sullivan, but, I think players that are maybe established more in MLS that are gonna stay here.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about Diego Luna. They really like him, but it's gonna take a lot to get him to leave there, I believe. So.
Right, but LAFC, they've, it's like, for instance, maybe like Aaron Long, like those type of players that done well in MLS. They bring them over because they know that he's a good player.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
So, Bill, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, going back to the how to build a team, the MLS in general has shown there's no right blueprint, right? There's no great answer. You can have the old veteran, you can have a dropout from Barcelona leads you to a championship. You can have a dropout from Watford leads you to a championship. You can have an old timer come in and win. There's no correct answer.
You could have Gareth Bale come off the bench and win you a championship.
Yeah, you never know where it's going to come from. You don't know who's going to be. Most of the teams have a good spine, but to me, it's pretty fun to watch. And you look at the team that's leading the East, and their arguably most important player was someone acquired from Portland, right? You've got Evander, who was a intra-league trade for cash, and then you go to the Western Conference, and you look at Vancouver, and frickin' Brian White is there. Leading scorer, 8 goals in 9 games, killing it. Like, how are we not going and picking this up? So if you said my dream scenario is I'd trade Miranchuk for Evander, I'd trade Miranchuk for Diego Rossi, I'd go out and grab someone who's a 5+ goal guy already, who can provide width, who can provide creativity, who can potentially mix with Miggy. You could go out and find these. To be honest, the Miranchuk to Russia for Barco idea would work wonders. Barco
what if a man of similar stature? Why didn't we pursue Lucho Acosta instead of Miranchuk?
Or instead of Miggy, Lucho would have made a ton of, obviously Mira doesn't have a place, but Lucho would be a fantastic addition to the squad. Someone to direct. Now, obviously, I think you need a 6 or an 8 more than you need a 10, because you've found 2 guys who can't create to play 10. But harder to get rid of Miranchuk or Miggy. But someone to connect. I think Lucho has that ability really well. But someone who can drop in and pick the ball up 60 yards from goal and make a defender not feel comfortable would be lovely. We've had tons of those players for years. And we do not have a single one now who turns 60 yards from goal and a defender is like looking at him going, what is he about to do? Almada was that guy. Barco was that guy. Pitti was that guy. Nagby can be that guy. Like, he can be a connector. But Miggy's a last 35 yards guy, run fast guy. Miranchuk is none of this.
Yeah.
So you just, anyone who can play, either give us width or give us something that connects would be huge.
Completely agree. Let me see if there's any more questions real quick. Christopher says, do you think if we sign another Almada-style player, it would solve most problems, like moving the ball up the pitch, Slish is too slow, Click isn't as reliable and inconsistent? I don't know if it would solve. I mean, let's be real. Unfortunately, even when we had Almada, we were still pretenders. We weren't seriously contending for any silverware. That's really a hard pill to swallow. So I don't know if we just grab Almada and put him into our squad, do we automatically fix most of our problems? I don't think so.
I think you're an 8 seed versus a whatever 7,000 seed.
Yeah, whatever we are
quickly.
now.
If you replace,
he's saved it in a lot of games.
Yeah,
it's that's the truth. But it's this. Yeah, he helped paper over a lot of cracks. But again, it is the type of players that surrounded him when Almada was in the squad was also the issue as well.
Yep.
Because if you hit on one of your DPs, I would hope you hit on at least one of your DPs if you're a technical director. But it's again always the players from 4 to 11, and then also from 12 to 18 that you also have to mostly hit in order to be successful. And unfortunately, like for the last 6 years, clearly, it's miss after miss after miss.
All right, guys. So it's almost 12:30, so we're gonna pretty much start packing it up. I'm just gonna read 1 or 2 more of these, and then that'll be it. And then we're gonna do the Wheel of Misfortune. Unfortunately for this week, AJ has family in town, so we weren't able to film his forfeit for this week, which is a soccer skills challenge, but we will get to that And if it lands on him again, he's going to have to do 2. So we'll see. German Perez says, or actually Javier says, should Atlanta United go back to the 2018 formula, mainly Latin American players from similar leagues who had real chemistry? I mean, anything with like I said, if anything with chemistry works, I'm happy with it. You know, if it works, that's the thing that we've been struggling to find. And I'm sure you can build a Latin American team that also doesn't have a lot of chemistry and that doesn't fit as well. So it's not that would be the solution. I think, and also I think this has been kind of a dead horse that people beat a lot. 2018 seemed to have at least been lightning in a bottle, and I'm not sure chasing that dragon is a smart move, because I don't know if we'll be able to ever capture that kind of lightning again.
Yeah, we can't, because it's also the amount of
expansion
that we got
money you got
coming in. Yeah, and it's incredibly difficult to do that. That allowed us to pretty much underpay a lot of players, and also we hit on the super draft as well. I mean, like, so many things that went well, unprecedented. It's incredibly difficult to make that happen again.
Yeah. All right. Last question is, how's Cleek been looking? I saw some interesting set pieces today, but no build up. The best I saw came from long balls, skipping lines. No ideas in open play. Training is probably lacking in drills. I mean, he's not a DP. So. Yeah, today, but in general, I guess I could say, like, he doesn't play like a DP really anymore. That's as much as is clear for me. And he, he's just on the slower side of things. He does have some vision, and he does skip lines from time to time, or at least he tries to, and I applaud that, and when it works, it's great. But unfortunately, it's not enough, and it's also, he's not super effective at it right now. Because again, like a lot of the issues we talked about, no chemistry, none of the players know what any of the other players prefer or where they want to go or what they tend to do. So even if Click can hit a dime from wherever, it's still hard when, guys are passing the ball out of bounds or overhitting passes, and it's not clicking. Click is not necessarily the problem, but he's not really helping for me. And we're not paying him really anything, so like right now I don't really care so much. But next year, we're gonna care.
Anyway, it's like his legs are not what they used to be. So it's just like he's not gonna be the long-term solution anyway. So we best be trying to figure out what the long-term solution is. Someone earlier this season made out the point that yes, we are a fairly old team, and it is that we need to figure out how to be an energetic team, but also bring in the technical players too that can actually do what we want to do, which is play with the ball and actually be clinical in the final third. Like we're so far off that. Like we're not even like halfway there. We're just pretty much the most ineffective that we've ever seen at Leeds United.
All right, so let's see if I can get the Wheel of Fortune up here so we can get that started. Bill, before we get to that, do you have anything you wanted to say about any of that stuff that AJ talked about?
No, there isn't a one player fix. There isn't. Cleek can come in and do whatever he wants. Like, there just isn't. Nothing's going to change. There's so many really good moments. I'm sure I'll screen cap them and put them into chat or an article, but like where the ball just isn't right or the run isn't right in a way that like doesn't make sense halfway through a season. There's a point where late, maybe like 65th minute or so, Saba's running with the ball on the right middle of the field, and Miguel and Latelaz make the same run. And if Miguel makes a run towards Saba's wide open, and you can play or Latte Loss is wide open, play an easy ball. It ends up bouncing around. Saba ends up trying to beat someone on the dribble in the end, and it goes out off Saba for a goal kick. It's really bad from everyone, like in a way that's just frustrating. Or even the Miguel makes a drop pass just out to the 18 to Fortune, and it's underweighted. And Fortune takes it one touch to try and hit it. He's made a hard shot way harder because you gave the defensive time to get in front of him. Mm-hmm. Like every pass just feels painful. Yep. And it's not fun to watch. It can't be fun to play. Like something has to change. I don't know what that is. I don't know what we have left to switch. We're out of players. We're out of ideas. But at some point, someone on the team has to say, okay, I'm going to hit a ball that's right for someone. And I'm going to know that Miguel wants it on his left foot. And I'm going to know that Latte Loth makes this diagonal run behind that's really good. Or he can create space in the box and can float it. We've got to do something before I lose my damn mind and score 2 goals in a game.
Yeah, they got to accidentally get it right eventually, right?
You would think that, but no. I mean, look at the Galaxy. Apparently you can just not win for years at a time. Like, God knows how long it's been since they won. I'm sure they're winning right now or something. But it must have been 7 years since they won. And they won the championship. Like, apparently not. In this league, you can just lose all the time. And we're proving it. But, like, at some point, someone's got to say enough and take control of passing a ball to the right foot with the right weight so that we can get a chance that gives us a shot. And it's got to be someone like Cleek or Miggy or someone who's got some gravitas and some experience. Cleek has been a Premier League player. He should be one of these guys. Like, he should be a leader. He's 500 years old. He's been doing this for a long time. I don't care if your legs are broke. Lorenovitz would run through a damn brick wall with no legs. Like, come on. Someone's got to step up and do something. Because it's just exhausting at this point to watch this absolute shit fest of a team shit the bed over and over again. And sorry for the language, but that's just what this is. Like, that was a winnable game tonight, and they shit the bed. They have nothing going on offensively, and just someone, for the love of God, either put everyone out of their misery and call up 11 academy players to play, or someone step the fuck up.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the wheel. So for it is AJ and Mike. Let's see who it lands on. It's me this time. Had to be.
Oh,
so now we're 2-2, was it? Or no, 2-3. You have 3 still. Catching up to you. All right, so we got Soccer Skills Challenge still on the wheel this week. Paint face purple because we lost to Orlando. That's great. Yoda voice for 5 minutes. Please, Lord, no. Fake sponsor ad read and reverse roast. So let's see what hell I'll spin.
Purple.
Oh, thank God, it's Soccer Skills Challenge. Oof, 2 in a row. All right. Thank goodness. I don't know what I would have done. I would have done the forfeit, obviously, but man, I would have panicked.
I guess we could do that tomorrow.
Yeah, we can do it tomorrow. That's true.
Yep.
All right. Well. All right. Bill, it's been real. Thanks so long for hanging out with us. Man, 12:38, everybody. Appreciate all of you staying this long and bearing with my bizarre music choices tonight. I'm looking through some stuff on this free music player, okay? I don't have it down right now, okay? I had like something we had going on, and then I was experimenting, and then this was the result of that. So I apologize. Hopefully some of you enjoyed it. All right, so yeah, that's basically it from us, guys. Yeah, like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends about us. We're a lot of fun. The team isn't, but at least we can have some kind of community and a good time when things aren't going our way. So, come hang out and commiserate with us until such time when the team starts winning again.
All right, well, I'll officially sign us out then. But yeah, for Mike, I'm AJ. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Good night.